Hello, Magic Makers. Welcome to Storytime with Mombierella. This is a young adult fiction and may be inappropriate for some younger audiences. Mother Knows Best. A Tale of the Old Witch by Serena Valentino. Copyright Disney Enterprises Incorporated, 2018. Chapter 15. The Longest Night.
Please, everyone take your seats. Dinner will get cold,
said Jacob, directing the witches to their chairs. The witches took their seats at the long wooden table, which was covered in a bounty of delicious food and tiny votive candles in glass holders. Jacob managed to include everyone's favorites, even those of the odd sisters, who helped themselves to large portions of baked apples sliced with brown sugar and cinnamon, and served with cold cream. "How did you know we loved cherries and brandy?" asked Ruby, as she poured them over a hearty piece of walnut cake. "Jacob is a master at anticipating our every whim," said Gothel, smiling at her guest. To Gothel's surprise, Primrose and Hazel piled their plates high with their favorites as well. Primrose was munching on cherry tarts, while Hazel was spreading chocolate hazelnut butter on thinly grilled cakes, covered with a light dusting of powdered sugar. Gothel thought she would happily provide her sisters with a feast every day, if it meant she would be able to get them to eat. Maybe it was the warmness of the room, but it seemed to Gothel her sisters had more color in their cheeks. The evening was everything she wanted it to be. Between taking bites of her tart and sipping wine, Primrose was asking the new witches a litany of questions. "How long have you been studying magic? Where do you live? How did you find us in the dead woods? How does your magic work?" And so on she went, not even giving the witches time to answer. It was nice to see Primrose so happy, so full of life. Like her old self, Gothel thought. Hazel was quiet, as was her custom. She was the contemplative sister, the observer. She let Primrose, the outgoing sister, ask all the questions and sat there listening carefully to the responses. "Give them a chance to answer, Prim," said Gothel, laughing. "That's okay, Gothel. We understand," said Martha. "We felt the same way when we met other witches for the first time. But it must be even more overwhelming for you after being here alone for so many years." "It is," said Primrose. "We've had no one here in the dead woods our entire lives. Imagine living your entire life, not meeting a soul other than your sisters and mother. And Jacob, of course." She looked at Jacob, standing nearby in case anyone required anything. "Jacob, why aren't you joining us?" she asked. If Jacob could have blushed, he would have. Gothel could tell he was touched by Primrose's gesture.
Thank you, Lady Primrose. But I should check in on the kitchen. Since you ladies seem to be favoring the sweets rather than the savory dishes, I think I will request the other desserts be brought out immediately."
"Oh," squealed Primrose, "that sounds lovely." The odd sisters laughed. "Is it always like this? So happy? We hadn't expected to see such a happy group of witches when we decided to venture here." Hazel spoke. "I mean no offense, but why do you ask questions when you already know the answers?" The witch sisters smiled at Hazel. "Ah, we thought you were the empathetic one," said Lucinda. "How so?" asked Hazel, speaking up more than was usual for her. "We were hoping the three of you could read minds," said Ruby. "It makes things so much easier when getting to know new witches if we can just read each other's minds." "Wait, you can read minds?" asked Primrose. The odd sisters laughed. Yes, they said. Primrose frowned. The odd sisters laughed again. "I wouldn't worry about it, Primrose," said Lucinda. "You have such a pure heart, and you're so kind, you really have nothing to hide." "I like these girls," said Primrose, smiling at her own sisters. "I think we should keep them." "I'm curious," said Hazel, "how it was you were able to enter our woods. Our mother always told us the boundary was enchanted." "And so it is, but we devised a counterspell that allowed us to enter. We didn't think you'd mind," Lucinda said, taking Hazel's measure. "That's rather audacious," said Hazel. "It is audacious, and I like it," Primrose said, smiling, then laughing. "Yes, of course you would," said Hazel. "I'm sorry if we overstepped, Hazel. I thought we were welcome," said Lucinda. "You are welcome," said Primrose. "I think what Hazel was trying to say is that she's impressed with your magic." "Is that what you're trying to say, Hazel?" Ruby asked. As a matter of fact, it is, said Hazel. You'll have to excuse me, ladies. We're not used to visitors here, and I'm afraid I don't share my sister's flair for entertaining. I'm not quite as charming as my other sisters here. She returned her attention to her meal. Please don't apologize, Hazel. We're honored to be here, said Lucinda, raising her glass. To the witches of the dead woods. To the witches of the dead woods, said the other witches, laughing and clinking their glasses. After another hour or so of chatting over dessert, the ladies moved the party into the morning room. Several more trays of dessert, tea, and coffee were on a rolling cart near one of the larger window seats, where all the ladies made themselves comfortable. Each set of sisters found themselves seated across from the others. Sisters, said Gothel, talking to her own sisters. I've told Lucinda, Ruby, and Martha. They may stay as long as they wish, and depending on how you feel about this, I would like to give them access to Mother's books. They've agreed to help us learn our magic. Oh, I think that's a lovely idea, said Primrose. Gothel was surprised. I know how important magic is to you, Gothel, and I'd much rather have these lovely creatures teach you than Mother. Primrose looked at Hazel and asked, What do you think, Hazel? Hazel contemplated the witches carefully before answering. I think that's a very fine idea, but I have a feeling Gothel isn't being entirely honest with us. Gothel's heart sank. She didn't know what Hazel was talking about. Lucinda smiled and answered for her. You're right, Hazel. We didn't want to mention it and put a damper on the festivities. But we're here for another reason. We want to help you and Primrose. Gothel's been worried about you. So worried, in fact, that she unintentionally called us here. You see, we can feel magic in the woods, and we felt Gothel's when she destroyed your mother. But I don't even know how I did it. I still don't think it was my magic, said Gothel. Well, we're here to help you figure that out, said Martha. Why are you worried about me and Hazel? Asked Primrose. Gothel had a feeling Primrose didn't realize how sick she likely was. Because, Prim, you two haven't been yourselves since Mother attacked you. We're worried she caused some kind of irreparable harm. We're just tired, Gothel. I think you're making more of this than it's necessary. Prim, it's been months and you're not getting better. Gothel hadn't meant to raise her voice, but she sometimes found Primrose's Hades-may-take-it attitude annoying. I think you're being dramatic, Gothel, as usual. No, Prim. Gothel's right. There's something terribly wrong with us. I didn't want to frighten you, but I think we should do something about it as soon as we can manage. Really? Do you think it's that bad? Asked Primrose. But before one of her own sisters could answer, Martha chimed in. Don't worry, Primrose. My sisters and I will help you. I promise. Your mother lived an extraordinarily long life. Somewhere deep within one of her books will be the answer. I promise you. I'm so glad you're here, said Primrose to the odd sisters. We all are, said Gothel. Yes, very glad indeed, said Hazel. Now, shall we open our gifts before the evening takes a darker turn? Asked Gothel, trying to lighten the mood. The truth was, she was very worried about her sisters, even more now that Hazel had admitted she agreed something was wrong. But she didn't want to worry Primrose any more than needed. She just hoped the odd sisters would be able to help her save Primrose and Hazel. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember, like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, share with a friend, comment down below. And remember, let it go and keep moving forward. Have a magical day. Bye.